thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Amy Frog, and I am the District 9 representative for the Nashville School Board. I am so excited to be here to introduce Dr. Joseph and also to help start this very important conversation for our community. This is a very hopeful time for our district, and I believe that we are going to be seeing great things to come. And I will start off, first of all, by introducing our elected officials here in the audience tonight. I have two fellow board members somewhere, Mary Pierce and Thais Hunter. If you just stand. We also have two state representatives, Bo Mitchell and John Ray Clemens. You'll stand. And we also have Council Lady Sherry Weiner. And then if I could get all of our area principals to stand. And all of our teachers to stand. Thank you all for all your hard work on behalf of our children. Dr. Joseph comes to us from Prince George's County, Maryland, where he served as Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. And prior to that, he served as Superintendent of Schools in Seaford, Delaware. He began his career as an English teacher and reading specialist, and he holds a doctorate in Educational Administration and Policy Studies from George Washington University. Not only is Dr. Joseph our new Director of Schools, but he is also our newest neighbor here in Bellevue. And he is the parent of two children who will be attending our Bellevue, our Hillwood cluster schools. And so we will welcome him not only as our director, but as our newest PTO dad.
Hey, sign me up.
So let's give him a warm welcome. All right, so before we get started tonight, I have a few housekeeping items that we need to address. First of all, we have translation services available to anyone who might need them. There's a table in the lobby with headsets, and I'll just ask our translators here tonight to repeat this information to make sure everyone is aware.
Muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Elsie Shaw. Yo estoy aquí como la intérprete de bilingüe de español. Tenemos unos auriculares y dispositivos atrás en caso de que ustedes necesiten ayuda con español. Gracias.
Thank you. And next I've been asked to explain how the format for tonight's meeting is going to work. This is called a listen and learn because we are here to listen to you and learn from what you have to share. There will be two staff members with microphones out in the audience. If you all could wave so we can see where you are. All right. And if you want to speak, you just need to simply raise your hand. One of the staff members will come to you, and they'll try to come in the order that they see you. And they will be holding on to the microphone, so if they can't reach you, just go to the aisle so that you are able to speak. However, please don't form lines in the aisle and stay in your seat until you're called. In order to hear from as many people as possible, please keep your comments to 1 minute or less, and our staff will be keeping time and let you know if you're going over time. If you are not comfortable speaking into a microphone, we do have comment cards available, which you should have received as you came in the door, and these will be read aloud throughout the night, so you just hold your comment card up in the air and a staff person will come and get it. And we know that we probably will not be able to hear from everyone in just 1 hour, so we encourage you to take advantage of the gallery walk outside this door after the event, if you haven't done so already. The gallery walk is a series of boards that you saw in the lobby, and each board poses a question. There's also an open comment board. And there are Post-it notes outside for where you can write your thoughts, and you can also see what other people have written. The question and answer portion will end at 7:30 tonight, but the gallery walk will stay open until 8 p.m., so I hope that you'll take advantage of that opportunity as well. We greatly appreciate you coming out tonight, hearing your thoughts and your concerns and your hopes for our schools is very important as we build a new strategic vision that will take our district from good to great. Thank you. And we have one more elected official who has come in tonight, and that is Council Representative Kathleen Murphy. If you'll stand, there she is. And so it's now my pleasure to turn it over to Sean Joseph to kick off tonight's question and answer.
Well, good evening, everybody. Now, I'm telling you, it feels great to be close to home. Huh? I'm trying to tell you. This is our sixth, listen and learn session, and what a great community you have here. I was telling Bo Mitchell and Sherry Weiner that this morning, I'm still like unpacking clothes and things of that nature, and it took about a week and a half to get Comcast here. But this morning, I heard. That's not going to change. Right. I heard the lawnmower going this morning, while I was getting dressed, and I looked outside and somebody was cutting my grass. Now that was that's a sign that I'm not on my job. I've been running, but I was telling Bowen too. Sherry, what a wonderful community that the neighbors just said they know I've been busy running around, so just let me take care of that. That's the type of community that you have here, that we take care of each other here in Bellevue. So thank you for the warm welcome, and your presence here tonight shows what I knew, that this is an extraordinary community, and it's one that cares about education, cares about children, and I'm proud to be here, and I'll be prouder to be a PTO active parent and participant in our cluster here. But the work that we need to do in this entire school system is going to require the full team come together and really be focused. We are extremely fortunate in the Metro Nashville Public Schools to have a mayor who's passionate about education. I've probably met with Mayor Barry 6 or 8 times already, just talking about the work, and she is 100% supported. I saw Bo at the pool on the 4th of July, and then one of his primary conversations was about, what can we do to make sure that we move good schools to extraordinary, and we focus on schools that need support and give them the supports that they need. And we can do great things in the Metro Nashville Public Schools without question. But what it's going to take is the entire community really coming together and working hard to do this work. And that's why I appreciate Amy so much. Those of you that know Amy know, since I got appointed on May 13th, and May 14th at 5:42, I was emailing our board chair, Dr. Gentry, and at 5:48, she was responding back to me, up and running. And those of you know, Ms. Frog likes social media, and we, so we communicate through multiple means, and we've had just extraordinary phone conversations, in-person meetings, email communications about what will it take to make this district extraordinary. And she's dedicated her much of her time and energy in really communicating the needs of this community and supporting us. From the talk, the entire board, but specifically Ms. Frog has talked about to me, what do we do to ensure that we provide the wraparound services that our children need in this district to make sure that they can do, the work. What are our thoughts on, pre-K, and how are we focusing on our earliest children? Because I think she, as well as the board, understands that, if we look at, here at Hillwood, we have an ACT average score, of about, I believe it's 18 or 19, 21 or higher is the goal, so we've got work to do. But you don't just change an ACT score, with doing something at the high school level. That starts in pre-K. And that grade, that score, is a composite of all the work that happens from pre-K up until the time we take that test. So we've got to fundamentally change how we're doing business and making sure all students have an invitation, access, and the opportunity to rigorous curricula. So I thank you, and I thank the full board for the commitment that you have shown in me, and the faith that you've shown in me to give me this opportunity to serve such a wonderful community. And one of the first things we had to do was make sure that the team was right. And you can't, Superman, Superwoman, that's a show, on TV. One person doesn't come into a community and make things better. It takes the collective effort of a team. And, when I look at the team that we've assembled here in the Metro Nashville Public Schools, and pound for pound, I'd put us up against anybody in the country. And it's strong, it's diverse, and they're people that have experience. I don't believe in going into battle with folks that have never heard a gun shoot. I like to know that the people that are on the battlefield with me are tested and have the experience and some substance, because things are going to get tough and things are going to get rough, and when they get tough and rough, you don't want somebody getting a little nervous. You want people who have that confidence and that experience to do the work that needs to be done to make things better for our children. So I could not be any more excited than to have Chris Henson, who has been extraordinary and has served as interim superintendent on 2 occasions. He was the chief financial officer previously, and our budgets have been stellar and our resources have been utilized wisely historically. But now he's going to be the chief operating officer, and in that role he's going to be responsible for all of our operations in the school district. And I know he's going to move those areas that have not been as strong to be exemplary. So, Mr. Henson, we thank you for your service. So this is the 6th Listen and Learn. So I've had 5 already. And some of the general, I'm a qualitative researcher by trade, so some of the things that I've heard and that just kind of stuck out of my mind, people have been asking, so what are we doing about special education in this district? And then on the other extreme, what are we doing for our most gifted learners? That you shouldn't have to have a student in a magnet program to ensure that a highly able child gets his or her needs met. And I agree. That is an issue and strategy that many school districts are facing. So, when I thought about a chief academic officer, I wanted somebody that really understood that there is giftedness in all children, and it doesn't matter. It's not just in children of a certain race. It's not just in children with a specific socioeconomic background. Students who speak second languages can be gifted. They just don't speak our language. And so Dr. Monique Felder, who is our new chief academic officer, understands that. She's written extensively on the topic. She's been an award-winning principal. She's been a teacher. She was in charge of gifted and talented programming in Montgomery County Public Schools, which is one of the highest performing, largest school districts in the country. And then she was my right and left hand in Prince George's County. So Dr. Felder, we thank you for coming on out and moving to Nashville. In addition to Dr. Felder, we have Dr. Cito Narcisse, who is coming back to Nashville. He actually was here, did some graduate work at Vanderbilt University, and was actually a student teacher at Antioch High School. And then he went off to University of Pittsburgh and got his doctorate there, was a turnaround principal in Pittsburgh, went to Boston Public Schools and was a turnaround principal there. He actually replaced me when I left Montgomery County to become a superintendent. He was the person that replaced me. That's how I met him, because I said, bro, I don't know what you're in for. This place is busy. But he did a great job there, and then he was in Prince George's County supervising 78 schools, elementary, middle, and high schools there. So when we thought about somebody who could support our principals and really give the supports that are needed, because when you have a system with high expectations and low support, people lie, cheat, and steal. That's just the bad part of human behavior. So we've got to have a system with high accountability, but high support. And when you do that, you have the potential to have breakthroughs in results. So Dr. Narcisse understands that, and we're happy to have you on our team. As you know, we are the 42nd largest school district in America, and we are one of the most diverse school districts in America. But I don't, we know that, we say that on paper, but I don't know if our practices historically have indicated that, and have we followed up on, so what does that mean? Because you don't, you don't turn things around for all students unless there's an intentional focus on equity and excellence. So we created a new position in this school district, and that is Executive Officer for Diversity and Equity. And I could think of no better person than Dr. Maritza Gonzalez to lead that effort. Dr. Gonzalez? So, Dr. Gonzalez understands intimately what it's like to come into this country as a second language learner. Her family emigrated here, and she did extraordinary in school. She learned what she had to learn and did extraordinary. And it's for English language learners, again, you can be, if you ever speak with her, you will learn very quickly that she's gifted, highly gifted, But when she came to this country, she just didn't speak English. She learned English and was able to go off to the University of Maryland College Park and get her PhD your PhD is in good stuff. She's got a PhD in the area of English language learning and culture. that I do know. But she served as the first. She serves in a similar position. She serves as the Director of Diversity Initiatives in Prince George's County, which is a larger district with much more diversity than even we have. And I saw her in action, connecting families and ensuring that families weren't invisible, and that in every aspect of work, we paid attention to culture and openly talked about culture and the impact culture has on achievement. You see, if we're not intentional about it, things don't change. So we are beyond excited to have her intellect and expertise on our team to help us move this work. We have had some interesting conversations here about, choice. Haven't we? Yeah. I think the state of Tennessee has been, in my opinion, very narrow and a little crazy. As we talk about, what do we do with choice? You see, I think the choice should be about my child has an interest, and how do I go about finding a program to meet his or her needs? It shouldn't be about, I got to choose one school because I don't think there are any good schools to choose from, and this is the only option. That conversation is very narrow, and we've had a very top-down approach in the state as we talked about that, and is one of the reasons on my transition team, we're just calling it out, and we have a team that's going to look at choice within our school district. How much access do people have to different choices? What are our choices? Are our choices good? What are our programs? Are our programs good? And how do we ensure that there is choice in all neighborhood schools and programs? It's a complex phenomenon, particularly in large, diverse schools, and school districts around the country have been trying to figure this work out. And Dennis Queen has worked in school systems that have been very progressive and aggressive in ensuring equity and access for all children, and really tackling the choice conversations, at the head. So he's going to be our new executive officer for charter schools. Mr. Queen, we thank you. Mr. Queen, he was a principal for over 12 years at the middle school and high school level. He's gotten results in both of those areas. He went off to be an area superintendent in Milwaukee Public Schools, and Milwaukee has dealt with issues of choice, all kinds of choice, and all kinds of very kind of aggressive approaches to choice. Probably more aggressive, and been doing it longer than any place in the country. He's also been in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District, which has, many argue that Charlotte has been one of the fastest growing, progressive, innovative school districts in the country. And he supervised a portfolio of schools there. So he brings lots of experience, background, and insight into our conversation. And hopefully we'll move the conversation from a very narrow conversation to one that really focuses on, so how do we meet the needs of children, putting quality first. And we've also had interesting conversations in this school district about priority schools and schools that are struggling, on schools that, by the data, are not doing well. And you can have a school that doesn't have great scores, but are doing great things. And having bad scores doesn't mean that there aren't high quality teachers there. It doesn't mean that there isn't great work happening in the school. Just for some reason, we're not getting the results. I'm a Redskins fan, and every year I'd say, man, on paper we can win a championship. We can do it. And invariably, they couldn't make it to the playoffs year in and year out. I know y'all feel that with the Titans here. You know what I'm talking about. But leadership matters. We got Captain Kirk on the team, and all of a sudden, we the champions of the division. I'm just saying it was a bad division, but we got it. Look, we take what we can get. But what I know is, at the helm of our priority schools with Mo Carrasco here, things will get better. Mr. Carrasco was a middle school principal, and he turned around, one of the most highly diverse schools in Maryland, and moved it from, what many would consider the abyss to, one of the highest performing middle schools in the district. He went off to Richard Montgomery High School, which is one of the highest performing high schools in the country, with their International Baccalaureate program. And he took a school that was doing extraordinary and made it better. And he made it better because he went in and when he looked at his data, he saw, kids who had a lot of money and did well in the program and thrived, but poor children with different backgrounds, students with special needs weren't even invited to the party. And he invited them to the party and gave them the supports that they need. And by moving the part of the school that historically had not done well and given them more expectation, more push, more opportunity, he made that school from good to great. He was acknowledged as the Maryland State High School Principal of the Year for his work at the secondary level. So when we needed somebody to coach priority schools, we feel real good about what Mo can do for us. So, Mr. Carrasco, we thank you. And so we have assembled a team, and then also, now we've changed the way we've done business with our principal supervision as well. Once upon a time, we had a principal, and we had that principal doing their job, and then we told them to go help 5 or 6 other schools, and that's a hard thing to do. It's hard to just focus on one school, let alone to step back, stop, and try to look at a bunch of other schools. So we've changed that model to make sure that there's a principal supervisor that just has 11 or 12 schools, and that's their only responsibility, is to really focus on improvement in those schools, conversations in those schools, understanding what the needs are in those schools, and helping bring targeted supports to those schools. And we have Karen Gallman, who's with us today as one of our new executive officers, and she's coming from Prince George's County Public Schools. She had been a very successful principal in a Spanish immersion program. So, Ms. Gallman, thank you for your efforts and supports with us. And I believe this is going to be a school that she supervises here, so we thank you. And she's getting an opportunity to look at it. So the gang's all here, and we are ready to rock and roll. But before we rock and roll, we got to understand what's working and what's not. because you can't put a plan together without ensuring that our customers, the people closest to the job, the people closest to the work, the ones who live it, breathe it, and experience it every day, your voices must be heard. So tonight, we want to take just some time to understand what's on your mind, because we're going to be going into next semester creating a new strategic plan. And all the information that we're gathering here will be utilized to make sure what we focus on is what you feel will move us forward. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our staff who will ask you questions. Now, they have the microphone and they're going to keep it in their hands, so don't try to grab for it. They're going to hold on to it tight. And we're going to ask you to, we're going to give you about a minute to express your opinion or ask a direct question. When you see that mic moving away, and I ask them to just do it slowly, it's your signal to start winding down, because they don't want to finish your thought. But as you see it moving, just start speaking a little faster. We appreciate you helping us out so we can get as many voices heard as possible tonight. And let's see what you'd like to talk about.
Hi, I have a child in exceptional education, which you would refer to as special education. My question is supports for them. She went through 5 paraprofessionals last year because there was a churning effect and people were out sick and there was no consistency. We had a really not so great year. My question is, how are you, the staff, how do you determine the number of paraprofessionals needed per school, and how are those positions filled, and how are those people trained?
Yeah. So special education is an issue we know we need to focus on. I don't have the specifics right now in terms of our human resources statistics on what our shortage areas are. I have on my transition team, we're talking about how do we recruit and retain the best talent in America in all areas, and they're going to be given recommendations, particularly looking at areas of special education, English language learners, mathematics. I mean, those are the shortage areas that the district has chronically had, so we're going to look into that. And I have Michael Casserly, who is he's in charge of a coalition of the 70 largest urban school districts in America, focusing on helping them move their achievement. He's leading my student achievement committee, and special education is one of the areas that we are looking at. So know that it is an area of focus. I don't have answers to your specific question right now, other than we know that for our special needs students, we got to have high quality folks who are consistently there. And if they're not, we've got to do something about it.
Like to see, because we know some of the hardships and the problems that our district needs to solve. And also, on the other end, the kids who graduate, have we ever surveyed the colleges, the universities, the trade schools, the local employers about what type of student are they getting? How do we need to improve from that end? It might be really some useful information so they could share with us, and that would help direct where we need to go.
So the transition team will be doing focus groups and surveys of parents, principals, and teachers in our business community in their process of assessing. In addition, as we go through the strategic planning process, there will be surveys sent out to the entire school district, and we'll compile that to really help understand deeply the state of the union before we start moving forward.
Excuse me, turn your mic up. Get it louder.
put my Barry White voice on.
I would like to see how we can change the culture of welcoming students, all students in schools.
Yeah, culture is an issue that we will be focusing on specifically. We know, before, there's a researcher, last name is Barth, who talks about the fact that you can't begin to educate children until you have a positive culture and climate. And one of the things that we're going to put out right up front as we look at moving forward is, we've got to focus on literacy, we got to focus on mathematics and science in particular, but culture has to be right there, and that's one of the big pushes. We are working with an organization named Arbinger, which is helping us really think through some of the deep cultural issues embedded within the school system, and that work will be pervasive this year.
Dr. Joseph.
Hi, my name's Ann Martin. I'm a MNPS teacher since 1986.
Thank you.
I'm proud of it. and my children graduate from Metro. But I'm speaking from working in several inner city schools. And I don't know if Bellevue has this issue, but the lack of substitute teachers and them not showing for jobs and their pay is not enough.
So Mr. Henson and I have had maybe 3 conversations about that already, because we recognize that is a big issue. And I've also spoken with Katie Core, who's in charge of human resources. One, we've got to address the salary issue with our substitutes, but it's not just salary. We've got to make sure we're recruiting high quality people and being more thoughtful about the recruitment strategies. But we recognize that's an issue, and as a part of the transition team, they are specifically going to give recommendations directly towards that issue in particular, because we know it's a problem.
Good evening, Dr. Joseph, and welcome to Nashville.
Thank you.
I've lived in the Westmead area for 39 years. I'm a retired MNPS employee, 15 plus years, and still do interims, and the parent of a former Hillwood High School graduate. There has been much debate about the future site of Hillwood High School, but there has not yet been a community study conducted by an independent, objective consultant who has no financial or political interest in the outcome of such a study. I respectfully request that MNPS initiate a community study that answers questions about population growth, housing trends, access, equity, diversity, transportation, and safety. Hillwood High School is not in immediate need of replacement, not like Tuscaloosa. There is time to be thoughtful and thorough before any decision is made. Please put this project on hold, as there are many questions yet to be answered. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's like a Mayweather hit right there. I'll go ahead and why don't I say that? I am aware of a report that was conducted by a diversity expert in the district. I haven't read it thoroughly, and so I don't have any comments on it. And I know that it is an issue that a decision needs to be made. And I agree with you. I think we have to be thoughtful. I think we really do need to understand all of the community's interests, and at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for our children. So my promise to you is that we'll be thoughtful, we'll be communicative, and we'll figure out how to really engage the community to identify the best location for that school.
Over.
Hi.
Welcome to Nashville. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you.
I wear 2 hats. I'm a parent. This is 2 and as well. And while you can't hear me, everyone tells me to be quiet. I'm so loud.
Did you hear anything I said?
Yeah, it was breaking up, but I can hear you.
Okay. So I'm a parent in
teacher.
the system and a teacher in the system, and I love the open community forums that you have very quickly brought to the forefront with us here tonight as parents, as teachers, as community members. My question is, come August 5th, when we hit the doors running, what will you and your executive staff be doing to get into the schools to actually see students and teachers and administrators at work, to be able to take all your theories and thoughts and put them into practice based on what's actually taking place in a building?
Yeah, I live in schools, and you'll see that. And my commitment is I'm going to visit every school in this district by the end of the year, for sure. I mean, I typically, my typical, kind of my and my teams, and we've already talked about this with Dr. Narcisse, Dr. Felder, and Mr. Henson. We typically, because I'm in a million meetings, I don't like holding meetings in my office. I do them in schools, and because you can kill two birds with one stone when you do that. So, we'll get to all schools, and like I said, we have a new structure where our executive lead principals are expected to be in all of their schools weekly. So you'll see people much more than you've ever seen them before, I can assure you, and you'll see me there.
Dr. Joseph, you have a question over here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I got 3 questions, comments. So first is, I was curious about, there's Brookmead School, and about 7 or 8 years ago, it was greatly expanded, and now it's been empty for a long time. And I just wonder how that kind of thing happens, and what would be done so that we don't have wasted, or seemingly, I don't know what's going to happen to it. Second question is, you mentioned about doing things that have immediate rewards, which seems like a great idea. I wondered if you could give an example of that. And the third thing is, one of the things we noticed is that there are some schools that have gigantic PTOs, and if you just look and compare the playgrounds at different schools, it's pretty amazing. So the kids have different experiences. And I just wondered what role the PTOs and the influx of money from different PTOs and the discrepancy in that will be handled.
Well, I'm going to start with your third question and work backwards because I can't remember the first one. As it relates to playgrounds, I don't know how we do that in this district, but there should be a process where it shouldn't take a PTO fundraising to get you the right equipment. I mean, that should be something that the school system handles, and we'll look into that process.
I can help with the first one. You may talk about Brookmead because I doubt you know anything about Brookmead. So this happened before I was on the board, but my understanding is that Brookmead was closed because it was under-enrolled. And then it was leased to a charter school, which also closed. So that is on our radar, and we're having conversations now about the high school, but my hope is in the fall, if I am still here, that we'll begin a series of meetings that also incorporate the other school needs in the district, because all of our elementary schools are overcrowded. We're looking, we have middle schools are in need of expansion, renovation. We're looking for a space for a new pre-K, and it's a sort of a complex puzzle. So we'll be looking at all those pieces, and Brookmead will be part of that conversation.
And the second question was?
I missed that.
What is some low-hanging fruit that you might see? I think that's kind of the idea that you had.
Low-hanging fruit is customer service and presence. That we're going to launch a new logo. I'll hold off. You'll see it. Oh, I'll tell you. You'll be the first one. Since you're my community, I'll tell you a little secret. But so we'll have a new logo. But our logo for the district is going to be exceeding great expectations, and then we're going to charge staff immediately, to answer the question: what does it look like when a staff works to exceed great expectations? You see, because it's going to take, year 1 is about building the plan. Year 2 is about executing the plan. Year 3, you should start seeing results from the plan. But changing the expectation and changing our customer service can start on August 3rd. And, you know, we have to have a Nordstrom's orientation to customer service, right? Be intentional and thoughtful about what our customers need and want, and see an adaptation to our behaviors based upon what they need. I mean, that's what great businesses do, right? Great business stays in business because they hear if the customer says, I don't like X, they stop selling X and they shift. And they really pay attention to the needs of the customers. We've got to do the same thing, and we'll do the same thing. I mean, I spoke to 484 bus drivers today and talked to them about our customer service orientation from the beginning. I mean, this will be the first time at the last board meeting we shared. This will be this will be different from last year. Is that this is the first time we actually have bus drivers for all of our routes, and. We are making sure that we have plan A, B, and C. So just because we have bus drivers to the routes, we need to make sure substitutes are ready to go if that bus driver calls in sick. And we need to make sure that the bus drivers practice their routes so they're not confused and your children aren't waiting an additional 20 minutes because somebody got lost. You know, it's the thinking through of the little details that'll make a big difference. And I think that's a quick win that people can feel.
Good evening, Dr. I want to commend you for sending your children to our community schools. Oh, okay. I just need to let go of the microphone. I'm a parent, and I'm also a school counselor right here at Bellevue Middle. And my daughter's going to be in 8th grade. And like I said, I'm glad you're showing an investment in our community schools by having children go to their zone school. What I would like to know is we have great assets of like EL teachers and behavior specialists and school psychologists, but right now, and social workers, but right now, and for the about 15 years I've worked in Metro, we share them. They're at 3 to 5 different schools. So they're not as much a part of our community to help our teachers and staff as we could. I mean, we could use them every day, full-time. There are really high needs. And I wonder if there's money in the budget, if these things are going to be, if it's going to be a whole year from now before we might see some change in that, or if there are going to be more immediate changes to those kind of things where we have really supportive positions, but they're really fractured because they're spread so thin.
Yeah, so 83% of our budget goes to staff. So we only have a little percentage of the budget left for like the discretionary work and so forth. This past Tuesday, I was meeting with Mayor Barry, with my executive team and members of the Board of Education and our Chamber of Commerce because we were talking about how do we streamline resources and share resources to address some of the issues that you have identified. We know that we don't provide enough wraparound services for the needs in our community. And again, it's something that Ms. Frog has been advocating for and is talking to us about extensively. And it's something we're going to try to find creative solutions. I mean, how are we maximizing the resources from the government in terms of sharing resources, and how can we, coordinate? Are there nonprofits that can help us with this work? We'll be thoughtful about it, but it will take, more funding or us utilizing the resources that we have better. And we'll be studying that as we think about how to move forward.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I'm over here.
Hello.
I'm a proud parent of a first grader at Harpeth Valley. Thank you, ladies. I see you all there. Appreciate it. I'm also an adjunct professor at Middle Tennessee State University, and I serve on 2 boards, the Nashville Technology Council and Women in Technology.
What was the second thing you said?
Women in Technology and Nashville Technology Council. I have a deep concern as a professor and also on these boards that I'm seeing that we are really struggling bringing innovative and technology services to our youth. And I say that because I know that Antioch has a new program that they came out called Girls in IT, and I know that it was all volunteer-based. But my question to you is, what kind of programs are we going to do for both boys and girls that can service those kind of IT roles? Because President Obama in 2014 said Nashville was listed as the top innovative and technology city in the U.S. So what are we doing so we can service those students to the roles that we're having in the community, you know, and their jobs and their careers?
And, you know, and this has come up in a number of our sessions. And my response is, I really do need to see what our technology plan is, and I think we've got to be clear as a community on what is our vision for, you know, ensuring that students get those 21st century skills, right? That they can think creatively, that we're expecting them to do project-based, real-life work to, you know, demonstrate creativity. We're helping them be strong communicators, and we're creating opportunities for them to collaborate. But until I see if we don't have a plan, by the end of the year we will have one. If we have a plan, we have to assess whether it's good or not. And again, I think that's where the Council of Great City Schools will be advantageous to us as they're on my transition team, because they help us benchmark against the 70 largest urban school districts in the country, and they know who the best are and what it is they're doing for us to be able to think through a plan and to benchmark our plan against.
Hi, I am a 22nd, heading into my 22nd year as a special ed teacher in Metro, and also a parent of 3 children who will be 5th graders here in the fall. 2 of them have special needs. My question is basically about curriculum. We transition curriculums faster, I don't know, than anywhere else, because I've pretty much only taught here. But we just adopted Math 1, 2, 3 in high school after it had been a failure in Atlanta. We are in our 3rd or 4th year of RTI, and the data is showing that students are doing worse in the RTI system than before RTI was implemented nationally. So I was just kind of wondering how, I know this is something you've inherited, but how we're going to assess curriculum changes and where we're moving, and kind of how scholarly data is going to be used in those kind of decisions.
Yeah. So Dr. Casserly and his Student Achievement Committee, as one of the pieces that they're studying for my transition team, is how rigorous is our curriculum, and how does our curriculum allow for accessibility for all. And Dr. Felder from the, I got appointed May 13th and knew I was coming on the 14th, and called her, late on the 13th to say, hey, I got a great place for us to go. And she was all over. So where are we with the curriculum? Do we have good curriculum? So it'll be something that is studied and reported on. And it's hard. It's hard because school system, a big part of the problem in large school systems, particularly urban districts, is this constant change. We throw money at stuff instead of being thoughtful and systemic and thinking about long-term implications. And we'll try to slow that down. But if we have a bad curriculum, I don't care if we started it last year, we'll stop. And I'll just take the hit for changing one more time. And we'll make sure what we do is we'll be here for the long haul.
Before we get to the next question, I'm sorry, I just want to interject that we had another elected official come in. Council Representative Mina Johnson has joined us. Thank you.
I had a follow-up question to the technology plan. In your meetings with the mayor for what the plan can become, this is an infrastructure question. How can we get Wi-Fi to all kids? All of them, not just the ones that have access to expensive homes, but so that we as teachers can get them access to doing homework on Wi-Fi, just like and they can do it on their phone. A lot of them. I've got electronic books that they can read off of, but if they don't have access to Wi-Fi at home like the other kids do, they're not on a level playing field.
Yeah. So we've not talked about that, but it is something that we can look into. I do know that there are lots of programs. I know when I was in Delaware and when I was in Maryland, there were federal there were programs that required if you had a certain percentage of your district or community that hit a threshold of free and reduced meals, that I think like Comcast had like for $10 a month you could have access. I'm sure that that's the case. Well, I need to explore if that's the case here. And if so, we need to make sure families are aware of what those opportunities are. But it's something we will follow up on. As we think about our plan, that has to be a part of it. And we have to make sure that our schools have, strong systems, because if we can't, there's no point in bringing, having a Cadillac and using regular unleaded gas in your schools, right? You got to make sure you've got high octane to burn it. So we've got to make sure we've got the infrastructure in our schools to be able to run the technology effectively, because I know that can be a frustrating moment for teachers too, to not know whether your internet's going to work or not work, and all of that type of stuff. So we got to make sure that we're investing in infrastructure as well as the software.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. I'm Kathy Hancock. I'm an instructional coach with Metro Schools. Over the past few years, Metro has really developed this academy system for high schools, national attention, pride and joy of everyone. And for the last 2 years, the elementary schools have really been focusing on their literacy intervention training teachers. My question to you is it middle school's turn yet to be the center of attention and get that spotlight and focus on us?
Yeah. Listen, I spent my entire teaching career, and my principalship was in the middle school level. So you got to be a little crazy to be in middle school. We know that. Right? Just a little bit. But I love it. I mean, this is the place to be. So I do know already, looking at our data, that we have lots of parents that check out of the system at the middle school level. So something needs to happen there to inspire parents to stay committed to us. But I need more data, and I need to understand much more than what I currently know to be able to figure out, so what do we do?
I just want to give a warning. We have 5 more minutes for questions and comments. So if we do not get to you this evening, please use your question or comment card, and we'll get it at the end of the meeting.
Hi. You mentioned students leaving at the middle school level. In Bellevue area, what specific things do you think need to happen to retain those families from leaving the Bellevue area?
Yeah, so I've got to look at, I don't know enough about the Bellevue area, though I moved here, to really comment on that. I can say in general, most people, from just looking at my previous experience and national trends, most people don't want to choose middle schools because of fear of behavioral issues, fear of not having a program that won't meet the needs of their children, whether it's the academic program, issues of what are the advanced program opportunities and offerings. Sometimes it's because of the size. You go from a small elementary school, and if our middle schools are very large, people can't imagine putting our kids in a middle school with 800, 900, 1,000 kids. We do something interesting here with middle school starting in 5th grade. So some people might say there's no way my 5th grader is going to be with an 8th grader on a bus, period. So I don't know. I'm just saying those are some of the general, if I had to guess what it could be, I probably would start there. And I think we have to understand the why here, so it'd be good for me to survey parents to gather that information. And once we have that information, think about what we can do about it. Bring those findings to the board and have a conversation about, so what? So I'm sorry I didn't really answer your question. But I try not to give an answer to something that I just need more information on.
How are you going to get more information? How can we help you get you the information you need?
Yeah, so we can survey the parents that have left. We can survey the 4th grade parents who need to make the decision to figure out what it is they're thinking, and if they're thinking about leaving, to understand why. We can speak to the middle school principals and get a perspective, and we can speak to the elementary school principals and get a perspective. So I think this is a case of qualitative research at its best, to begin to start thinking about those themes that might exist across. And it could be different reasons in different areas. So we can't, it's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. I think we just, that's where the qualitative piece will come in. So regionally, we'll have to gather that data and look at it regionally and then collectively, and then make some decisions based upon that.
Hi, Dr. Joseph. I am a parent and also a proud business partner with Hillwood High School and on several committees with the Chamber and community involvement. The biggest thing that I have seen and the biggest challenge that I have seen has been communication, and be able to get communication across all the different, for the parents, for the community, and a lot of the things that I hear tonight, like, I know where the resources are for those answers, and some of those are already there. How do we get that conversation, everybody on the same page, and getting that information out to everyone? And the other thing, since we have such a diverse population, how do we reach those parents when we have those community nights, when we have those forums? How there's such a disconnect to be able to get the communication out there and to be able to actually get those community members to be able to be involved because of different things and different barriers. So those are challenges. I don't know if you really have the answer, but
yeah, and that's why, 90% of problems that you have in any organization, especially big ones, are communication issues. It's one of the reasons we have, on my transition team, we're looking at communications, and we're looking at, we're benchmarking what we're currently doing against what some of the best in the nation are doing, and to come up with recommendations on what can be done. On a very basic level, by August 1st, we're going to have a new school system website, because a lot of busy parents go to a website and the website can't be confusing. I mean, that was one of the things I struggled on your website as I was applying for this job. So you'll see August 1st that it's going to be dramatically different. And it's not just about the system website, because most people don't care about what the system's doing. You care about what your school's doing. So we're making sure that all 179 school websites will be new by August 1st as well. I think they're up now. If you go to it, you should see a different look. But we're cleaning out the kinks right now, so that's why we haven't publicly announced it, because we're cleaning it up, and we don't want to announce, and it's a mess because y'all will come back and say, "You said Nordstrom's." Nordstrom's wouldn't have did that. But that's just the basics. But we know there has to be two-way communication. Look, we've got over 100 languages spoken here, and we've got to make sure that we're speaking in people's languages, and that when we send something out from the district perspective or in different schools, that we're thoughtful about that. We've got to look at the non-traditional communication path. I have met with the ministerial here, speaking with our religious leaders, because I think there's an opportunity to open up information through those paths, because a very small part of a community is a part of a PTO. And if many parents are like my mom, she, just this morning, I called her because she's going to come out and visit me, and she was like, "Now, baby, I don't get on the computer." I said, "Yeah, I know. Why don't I just take care of that for you, and I'll send you the ticket in the mail." But we've got to open up different communication paths, understanding that we have a very diverse community, generational and cultural, and everything in between. So identifying who those nonprofits are, those community hubs where people go. How do we better utilize our hair salons and our barbers and our the grocery stores and the sports leagues, build partners with those individuals and get the information out so it's happening multiple paths. You can never over-communicate, but invariably you under-communicate.
This is the last question for the evening. Again, please be sure to use your question or comment cards, and we'll take them at the end of the meeting.
Hi, Dr. Joseph. I'm a teacher here in Metro. Obviously, with the increased pressure on STEM, science is a huge part of that, and there's a need for our students to become more literate in science education as well.
Worthy of a clap.
And studies have shown that in order for students to be most successful in science, they need time to explore and experiment much like a scientist does. And I know this is something that you probably inherited, but we unfortunately lost the funding for our science kits that brought in a lot of those opportunities to our classrooms. So I'm wondering if there's a plan in place to bring materials in again, or a new program that might allow our students to benefit and really have time to explore and experiment like they need to.
This week I spoke with both the Chamber of Commerce, and I also spoke with the Nashville Public Education Foundation's board. And I shared with them, I don't understand why we aren't, without question, have the best STEM programs in the country, because we have such a rich healthcare community here, and we have such a healthy business entity here, and how we partnering and collaborating. I think there's a lot of opportunity there if we communicate a compelling vision. And there are very few places in the country that have so many good universities right within the region. How are we leveraging our partnerships? So that might be an answer. That might be a question where it's not a matter of us spending more resources, it's a matter of us connecting to the community resources that exist for us to get there. But it is something at the forefront of my mind, because I think we should be, have the best STEM programs in the country. I think we should have the best language programs in the country, just because of our resource that we have here. Instead of looking at our English language learners and from a deficit model, I mean, it's amazing to me that we only have one Spanish immersion program in a place that has language all over the place. Those are the things that we can solve quickly, and we will.
Okay, well, we are ready to wrap up. Thank you again for coming and sharing your thoughts and concerns. Thank you, Dr. Joseph, for being here to listen. And
Thank you. I told you I love my neighborhood. Thank you so much. Thank you, I appreciate it.
if you have not had a chance to ask a question, you can turn your comment cards in. There's also an opportunity to comment on the gallery walk, and this man has free ice cream outside. So you gotta love a guy who has a popsicle party. So have a good evening.